It's been an extraordinary, a shocking day on our Capitol, an assault on our Capitol, really an assault on democracy while it was taking place. And we are so thankful to have our first district Congresswoman, our newly elected Congresswoman Nancy Mace, with us. And our first thoughts tonight are you safe?
We are safe. My staff is safe. We are locked in my office in the Cannon building on the Capitol at this moment. We were evacuated earlier. There was a pipe bomb that was found at the headquarters of the Republican Party, very close to the Cannon building. And when we came back, we were put under a lockdown, so no one is able to come or go at this juncture at this moment because of what's going on the Capitol outside the building. And I've got the news on. I've been watching what's going on when the protesters stormed the Capitol today. I saw video of them pushing and attacking violently our law enforcement, our Capitol Police. This is un-American. This isn't protesting. This is anarchy. And just as I condoned the riots this spring and this summer in the 1st Congressional District, I condone the violence today. This is not a means to an end. You will not succeed if we continue down this path. And ironically, you know, my kids were here this weekend. I talked about having my 2 children in tow for the swearing in. I was really excited because the kids are in virtual school. They're not able to go back to school in person. They really wanted to stay here for the week. But when I was monitoring the social media and things that were coming in, I was threatened with violence online. I was accosted last night on a street in DC, but that instinct, I said, you know, the rhetoric that I'm hearing right now, I think could be interpreted for violence. And I actually put my kids on the first flight home to Charleston on Monday morning. Instinctively, I said, this doesn't feel right. And I'm so glad that I did. I talked to my kids a few hours ago, let them know that mommy was safe. But I'm sad for our nation today. I'm heartbroken, but I'm angry. And this is not right. There were millions of people who were misled on what the vote was about today. This was a strictly ceremonial vote to certify the Electoral College. Congress has no ability, right, authority, or power to overturn the results of an election that's certified in 50 states, vis-a-vis the Electoral College. Vice President Mike Pence also said earlier today that he doesn't single-handedly have the authority. He has no authority to overturn the results of the election and was not going to object, rightfully so, because that's what our Constitution says. It was a ceremonial day, but instead we had folks on the fringe, the far right, who misled millions of Americans, who said that Congress can do this, that the vice president can do this, and emotions and anger and rhetoric have been high. And the dishonesty led to this outburst of violence today. And I am entirely angry. It needs to stop. It needs to end. I'm calling on my colleagues to end it now. Enough is enough.
Do you think President Trump did enough today when he spoke to the American people? Did he go far enough trying to end the violence?
No, he did not. I've asked the president to get off Twitter and get onto television, talk to the American people, lead them out of this crisis, this constitutional crisis, quite frankly. We need to do more. We need to ensure that people are safe, that there's no more violence tonight on the Capitol, that they need to peacefully follow the rule of law and peacefully go home.
You know, I've been to the Capitol. It's one of the most heavily guarded federal buildings we have. From what you saw, how did this happen? Were there enough Capitol Police there protecting you and other members of Congress?
Well, no, I mean, clearly on the videos on the outside, there were not because they were outnumbered. And it didn't look like on TV, I was looking at it earlier, it didn't look like there were that many, a few thousand protesters potentially throughout the Capitol. It didn't look like it was going to be that big or as large of an event. But when you saw them get active and violent is when they got overrun. And I don't think really anybody truly believed that there would be violence on the steps of the Capitol. But I know for me personally, it was always in the back of my mind based on what I was hearing and seeing online and on social media. And I do wish we had more folks on the ground to prevent this from happening. This is a sad day in our nation's history.
It is a sad day. You know, you said that rhetoric has real consequences. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, when you say that violence like Antifa and BLM is what we need to do, when you encourage this kind of violent behavior, this is the result. You reap what you sow, and I am disgusted with the people who have encouraged this kind of violence. It's wrong, it's un-American, and it needs to stop. This is not the time tonight to be talking about voter fraud. This needs to end. We need to move on. There's a time and place to address it. I'm just as upset and angry over the election results. Everyone knows I worked for Donald Trump in 2015. I was one of his earliest campaign hires in South Carolina in a crowded Republican primary. I worked and fought tooth and nail to help get him elected. I've seen the strides we have made over the last 4 years with lowering our taxes, having one of the greatest economies in the world, and during the pandemic, getting Operation Warp Speed, and we're seeing vaccinations go out for COVID-19 to try to end this pandemic. So many good things, so many great accomplishments over the last 4 years, gone. They have disappeared. All of that is gone now, and I'm angry.
With this violence today, do you think it's time for President Trump to finally concede the election officially?
100%. It should have been conceded weeks ago. There's no constitutional means, grounds, or authority to overturn the results of an election that's been certified in 50 states. There is a time and a place to investigate voter fraud. I do believe that there was voter fraud. I've talked about this frequently and at length about some of the examples that are out there in multiple states. There's voter fraud in every election. I think history is going to tell us there was more this election than others, but this isn't the time and the place for it. Certainly not after the actions of today.
Moving forward from this, how on earth does the country come together again? How do you let Democrats know here in South Carolina that you represent them, that you will protect them and stand for them? And how do we unify after this?
Well, I said during the campaign and after the election that I wanted to rebuild our nation. And I truly mean that. Being a member of Congress means I represent everyone, regardless of their political affiliation. I have to represent the voices of the Low Country. And I know the Low Country would never put up with this. This is not the way that we operate. And this isn't the way that our nation should operate. And I'm going to pray for our country tonight. I'm going to pray for peace. I'm going to pray that folks who are from South Carolina that came up here to peacefully protest, those that came up here to peacefully protest, I pray that they're safe, that they're unharmed, and they can make it home.
Certainly hope everybody makes it home tonight safely. And I know that the curfew is going into effect now. Hope everybody gets home safely. Thank you so much. Glad you are safe and your kids as well. Thank you for joining us, Congresswoman Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you.